Yong Jun-hyung's current fallout with his agency is a complicated collision of his unresolved past and a present-day corporate collapse, starting with the 2019 Burning Sun scandal, where his casual reaction to Jung Jun-young's illegal videos permanently tarnished his image and forced him out of highlight. Despite attempting a solo comeback with his own label, BLACKMADE, and making headlines for his relationship with HyunA, his career faced a new threat when he accused his agency of abruptly terminating his contract and demanding billions of won in dubious damages, leaving him in a professional limbo. This dispute, however, turned out to be a symptom of a much larger rot within Big Planet Made Entertainment, as evidenced by the mass exodus of top artists like Taemin, the BOYZ, and VIVIZ, all citing unpaid wages, diverted funds, and a total breakdown of trust under CEO Cha Ga-won. While the public's disdain for Jun-hyung's past actions remains potent, the sheer volume of financial complaints from other respected artists has led even his critics to acknowledge that he, like his label mates, appears to be a victim of severe mismanagement, creating a scenario where a disgraced idol's exit story accidentally exposes a failing company's desperate, allegedly predatory tactic. Oh, understand why his recent contract dispute feels so heavy, we have to rewind to 2019. The industry was reeling from the Burning Sun scandal, a moment that stripped away the glamorous veneer of K-pop to reveal a rotten core of exploitation and criminal behavior. Investigators were digging through mountains of data, and one specific discovery sent shockwaves through the community. A series of group chats involving Jung Jun-hyung, where illegal, hidden camera videos of women were being shared like trading cards. As the public clamored to know who else was involved, a name surfaced that stopped everyone in their tracks. A figure referred to only as singer Yong. The speculation was instant and fierce, with fingers pointing directly at Yong Jun-hyung. At the time, his agency moved fast to control the narrative. They firmly denied he was part of those sordid group chats, attempting to draw a hard line between him and the main perpetrators. However, in trying to clear his name, they inadvertently confirmed a connection that was arguably just as damaging. They admitted that the messages in question were real, but claimed they came from a private, one-on-one conversation between Jun-hyung and Jung Jun-hyung back in 2016. The explanation was supposed to quell the rumors, but the content of that conversation left the public horrified. It wasn't just about being mentioned, it was about how he reacted to a serious crime. According to the reports, the exchange happened after a night of drinking. Jung Jun-hyung confided in Jun-hyung that he had been caught secretly filming a woman and sending the footage to others. This wasn't a confession of love or a cry for help. It was a criminal admission discussed with laughing emojis. The disturbing part, the part that stuck in the public's throat, was Jun-hyung's reaction. Instead of condemning the act or showing concern for the victim, his response was chillingly casual. He asked if the woman had been the one to catch him. It was a question that implied a concern for getting caught, rather than the morality of the act itself. It painted a picture of complicity, a glimpse into a mindset that viewed these violations as trivial mishaps rather than life-altering assaults. When the backlash hit a fever pitch, Jun-hyung addressed the situation himself, and his admission only fanned the flames. He confirmed that Jung Jun-hyung had sent him an illegally filmed video on another occasion, and that he had watched it and engaged in inappropriate conversations about it. He claimed he didn't realize the gravity of the situation at the time, calling his behavior careless and unethical. But for many, careless was a gross understatement. It was a crime. It was a violation of a woman's privacy treated as entertainment. His apology, while public, felt performative to many because it focused heavily on disappointing fans rather than addressing the direct harm done to the victims. The fallout was immediate and brutal. He stepped away from Highlight, the group he had spent years building, effectively exiling himself from the mainstream industry he once dominated. Authorities eventually decided not to charge him, a legal victory that did absolutely nothing to repair his shattered reputation. In the eyes of the public, he was permanently marked. After a period of silence, Jun-hyung tried to rebuild. He left his longtime agency, Around Us Entertainment, and in 2022, he took a gamble on himself, launching his own label, BLACKMADE. It was a bid for independence, a way to control his own narrative. He released music including the track Loner, and for a moment, it seemed like he might quietly carve out a niche for himself away from the spotlight's harshest glare. But the industry is a small world, and public memory is long. In 2024, when news broke that he was in a relationship with HyunA, a superstar with a fiercely protective fan base, the internet exploded. Instead of a fresh start, the announcement brought all the old resentment bubbling back to the surface. Critics questioned HyunA's judgment, and the hate comments poured in, proving that the public was far from ready to forgive or forget. What happened next, however, shifted the conversation transition from his past personal failings to a very present professional crisis. On June 21st of last year, Jun-hyung took to social media with a post that blindsided everyone. He wasn't talking about his relationship. He was exposing a bitter dispute with the very agency he had partnered with to manage Black Maid. He claimed that the company had unilaterally terminated his contract without his consent. The reason they gave was corporate jargon at its finest, the need to simplify and streamline multiple business operations. It sounded like a fancy way of saying, "You're fired." According to him, he was summoned, told the contract was ending, and given no room for negotiation. He was shocked, confused, and suddenly adrift. But the shock didn't end with the termination. Jun-hyung alleged that after kicking him out, the agency turned around and demanded he repay investment funds from a distributor, funds he claimed he never agreed to. On top of that, they insisted he cover damages calculated solely by the company. He described a surreal scenario where the agency pointed to contract clauses he swore he didn't breach, demanding billions of won in repayment. It felt like a shakedown. He refused, asking them to simply honor the contract they were trying to break, and in response, he says the company gave him the silent treatment. He was left in limbo, waiting for answers that never came. For an artist who had already been through the ringer of public scandal, this felt like a betrayal on a professional level he hadn't anticipated. Fast forward to March 30th, 2026, and the situation reached its inevitable breaking point. Jun-hyung returned to social media to announce he was officially done. He declared that he had formally informed the company of his intention to terminate the contract, citing their failure to meet key obligations. He stated clearly that he considered the legal relationship over and that he would continue his activities independently. It was a declaration of independence born not out of ambition, but out of necessity. He was walking away from a sinking ship, and as the weeks passed, it became clear just how many holes were in that ship. The issues at Big Planet Made Entertainment, the parent company overseeing his label, were systemic. It wasn't just about one disgraced idol trying to get out of a bad deal. It was about a roster of artists looking at the books and realizing the math wasn't mathing. The first major crack in the company's facade appeared on February 24th when reports surfaced that Taemin, a legend in the industry who had left SM Entertainment to join the agency, had abruptly ended his contract. No official reason was given, but the silence spoke volumes. Rumors quickly swirled that Taemin was unhappy with the financial management. Whispers pointed fingers at Cha Ga-won, the CEO, alleging he was connected to delays in payments and shady business deals made without the artist's knowledge. The allegations against the CEO were damning. It was reported that Taemin had been so desperate to keep his team together that he paid his own staff out of his own pocket, a move that highlights just how broken the company's infrastructure was. If a top-tier artist has to use his own money to pay staff because the agency won't, you know something is rotten in the state of Denmark. The trust was gone, and Cha Ga-won had little choice but to accept the termination. But Taemin wasn't the only one looking for the exit. The floodgates opened. Accusations of unpaid production costs started to pile up, with vendors claiming they were owed billions of won. One studio, 815 Video, came forward about unpaid fees for music video production. Then came the bombshell that the BOYZ, a massive group under the label, had sent a formal notice to terminate their contract. The reasons? You guessed it, money. Claims surfaced that 100, another affiliate, had outstanding payments dating back months, and shockingly that a housing deposit for the group worth 150 million won had been diverted elsewhere. This wasn't just mismanagement. It looked like financial chaos. It's hard to believe that a company managing such successful acts could be bleeding money this badly, or worse, simply refusing to pay up. And the exodus didn't stop there. On the very same day, reports confirmed that other major acts like VIVIZ, Moo-jin, and BO had also notified the agency of their intent to leave. When artists across different genres and career stages all head for the door at once, citing breakdown of trust and contract violations, it stops being a coincidence and starts being a pattern. It paints a picture of a company that is essentially hollow, failing to provide the basic financial security and management that artists sign contract for. When you look at Yong Jun-hyung's story through this lens, his narrative shifts. Suddenly, he isn't just the scandal-ridden idol from 2019. He's another victim of a company that seemingly couldn't or wouldn't do its job. The online reaction has been fascinating to watch. People who have been critical of Jun-hyung for years are finding themselves siding with him on this specific issue. It's a strange twist of irony. Netizens are pointing out the obvious. If Taemin, the BOYZ, and VIVIZ are all leaving because of unpaid money and shady practices, then Jun-hyung's claims of arbitrary fee demands and contract termination hold a lot of water. Comments on Korean forums reflect a sense of disbelief. People are asking how a company with such a strong lineup could crash this hard financially. There is confusion over why Jun-hyung would be pushed out when he wasn't involved in any new controversy, leading many to speculate that the company tried to squeeze him for money to plug the holes in their sinking financial ship. It suggests that his exit wasn't about his past behavior, but about the company's desperate internal struggles. They needed a scapegoat, or perhaps a quick payout, and he was an easy target.